What's up, Ninja viewers? Ninja wife and I are headed up to our camper at Indian Lake, and we are going to close it up for the winter. And today is going to be nice and sunny and warm.
Look at the lake. Hi, lake.
Hi, lake. Which is why we got to go today, because the forecast for the weather in the next few weeks is nasty. And so it's Friday, but we need to kids, vaping isn't cool. Stay in school.
It's terrible.
So anyway, yeah, we're doing the camper. We're gonna go close it up.
It's all yours.
Hello, camper. Yeah, so 1 week, 2 crashes. Stay tuned. Towards the end of this video, we will dissect what happened, how that crash happened, and how I then fixed the gimbal. Because for a minute there, I thought I was going to have to send it in and get my first taste of how well the DJI refresh service was going to work. But all is good, because as you'll see here in the next clip, I was able to get it up and flying again, put a fresh couple propellers on to fix the broken ones, and got the gimbal working again. And then here's the final buttoned up camper ready to go. So carry on. Okay. I mean, it's done, right? It's done.
It's done. It's good.
Okay, don't be mad, Ninja viewers. I did crash the drone again. So let's talk about what happened, and what we can do in the future to not have this happen again. So one of the features on the Mavic is called point of interest, and that is the ability for you to set the drone at a certain spot, then set a distance from that certain spot, and then set it to basically rotate at a certain speed and altitude around that spot with the camera trained on the point of interest, which is what I was doing on the top of the camper to roll out the tarp and everything. So what happened? Well, when I originally set up the drone's point of interest, the way it works is you set the center point of the point of interest and apply it, and then you set the distance from that and the angle that you would like to have the camera pointed, and then you apply that. And once those two settings are complete, the drone starts slowly circling, and then you can adjust the speed at which it rotates and the altitude during that point of interest rotation. So I set it at about 55, 60 feet in the air and had it rotating slowly around. But I think what happened was, when I set the altitude, it was over the camper. So I think it was reading the camper's height in addition to its own height. So while I thought it was high enough that it was clear of all the trees in the area, it seems that when the drone was doing its circle and then would get over the ground itself, ground level, it would lower its altitude. But I didn't see that when I first did it a couple passes. And it was about 20 to 25 mile an hour winds, gusts, not constant, but gusting up to 20, 25 mile an hour winds. And I think what was happening was the drone, while it was doing its circle, it uses GPS, so it stays pretty accurate, but not precise. So it did adjust its course a little bit and kind of move a little bit further north as the wind was blowing from the south. And while that was happening, it was also lowering its altitude when it went over the ground, and then lifting its altitude when it went over other campers as it was making its rotation. There was a tree that I thought was well outside the circumference and was also low enough that even if the drone passed over, it would be fine. But in the combination of its varying altitude as it went up and down over the ground and over the campers, and then being slowly, ever so slowly shifting north, it hit a tree, and it fell and tumbled down, and So, what can we learn from that? It might be tempting to set the drone to do things, but it's a good idea to you still need to be watching it. You can't completely forget about the drone, so either you need somebody else to be managing the drone if it's trained on you, or you have to be absolutely certain that there are no obstructions, even lower, it's not a safe bet that you're going to get that drone high enough and it's not going to drift or change altitude while it's in that mode, to avoid obstacles that are lower or what you think might be outside of the radius. After the drone hit the tree and fell to the ground, Ninja Wife went over and got the drone, and she looked over. I was stuck up on the camper still, and we needed to get that tarp done so we could get out of there. So she set it aside. After I got down off of the camper and started looking at the drone, one of the propellers broke. Thankfully, I have a whole batch of replacements, and I put a fresh propeller on there and tried to lift off again and see how she did. The drone was flying just fine. Didn't seem any worse for the wear other than the one propeller needed to be replaced. The other 3 propellers seemed fine. But when I got it in the air, the gimbal was jello. As you'll see here in this clip, everything I tried to film, and I was getting warnings on the remote control that the gimbal was having unusual vibrations, and oh man, my heart sank, as you can imagine. I'm just going to draw it on a piece of paper, so excuse my crappy art. I'm going to try to show you what happened, and so if you encounter this situation in your Mavic drone, you know what to do. I tried to take pictures or videos, but the assembly is so small and it's so dark and tiny, it really didn't translate well. So I'm going to try to draw you the gimbal assembly and what was wrong and how I was able to fix it. So this is the side view of the Mavic drone's gimbal assembly. Now, here is my rudimentary representation of the side of the drone, okay? This is the front where the gimbal assembly is. This blue part is the Mavic body. For sake of argument, that's the Mavic's body. In this little cavity here where the camera gimbal assembly lives, there's a plate that runs right here. And that plate is what has the gimbal attached to the camera below it. So here's our little camera, here's our little gimbal assembly, and this is what takes our pictures, right? This little plate is connected to the top of the body by 4 rubber bands. So at each corner of that plate, there's a rubber band that connects to the body of the Maverick, and that acts as a damper for the vibrations of the Mavic. So as the Mavic is flying around, those rubber bands act as a shock absorber, and that helps the gimbal stay steady, or at least adjust towards what's happening. Now, when the drone fell down and hit the tree and fell down to the ground, that plate obviously got hit. Inside the gimbal cavity is a little black hook. I'm using red here so that it's easy to stand out. But that red L-shaped bracket right there, this plate actually rests on that, or is supposed to actually rest on that hook. So it's a little black hook that's inside this cavity that the plate sort of sits on. Well, in the crash, the plate had actually bumped it out so that, and the plate was actually sitting below that. So what ended up happening was there was way too much play for these rubber bands, and it allowed them to just jiggle around like, there was way too much play. And so what was ended up happening was the gimbal was not able to keep up because there was just way too much vibration on that plate. So I was able to gently sort of ease that plate back out, pop it back below this little bracket inside there, and boom, voila. back to normal. So as long as these 4 rubber bands are intact, none of them snapped, and as long as the little cables that feed information to and from the gimbal arm are intact and they're not kinked or broken or ripped, you should be good to go, as long as the camera itself wasn't damaged. I mean, anything that gets cracked or broken or ripped or torn, you're not going to be able to recover it. But if it gets bounced around in there and this little plate gets knocked out of whack like this underneath that little L bracket, you can gently pop it back in place and then boom, it's back to normal. I did a little gimbal calibration and then you saw the footage of the camper after we finished buttoning it up, and the gimbal is back to steady and good. Hope that helps. Okay, I'm not sure how well that translates or if it makes any sense to you, but that's what happened. The good news is the drone is fine, and I can once again tell you, holy crap, this little drone is a tank. I'm not going to say it's indestructible, but it sure is resilient. That means I shall see you all tomorrow. So don't forget to subscribe, like, and share these videos. Ninja viewers are the best. If you're a new subscriber and you're new to the channel, thanks so much for signing up. This channel is a vlog channel. It's about my life and family and kids. There will be plenty of, as I've said before, there'll be plenty of opportunities for technical stuff, particularly drone stuff as it happens. The drone is essentially another character in my vlogs. So even if you found me just because of the Mavic drone stuff, I hope you enjoy the other content that's here and stick around and enjoy the story that is the Ninja Clan. But before I do the end screen, I'm going to roll out with a little Mavic drone footage montage for you. So let's get it going.